In today's episode of Gardening 101, we started off by visiting a garden that demonstrated how garden rooms can allow you to have more than one garden style, all within the same boundary walls. Compost is a vital part of gardening, and making your own is a must for any gardener. We visit Linda Galvad at the Saxon Hotel's rooftop garden to find out how she approaches the task of making compost.
Any of you who have been to my courses will know that I believe compost is king. And the best compost you could possibly have is your own homemade compost, which is full of different nutrients and variability, and it's just perfect. So today we're going to focus on showing you how to start your compost off in different ways and in small spaces. We're going to start off with the bokashi bin. Now these are terribly convenient to have in your kitchen, whether you live in a townhouse or in a house, it doesn't matter. The beauty about bokashi is that you can add all your kitchen scraps in here, including your cooked food, which is unusual because you don't normally add that into a compost pile outside to avoid attracting rats. The difference between a bokashi and a normal compost pile is that bokashi ferments your food. So it's like pickling onions or pickling cucumber. It actually keeps the food in its original form. It doesn't decompose into what we know as compost. You then take your bokashi after a few weeks and you need to throw it in your compost pile. But I'm going to show you what it looks like. This bokashi bin was filled up 6 weeks ago. I just want to show you something really important. You can see this grey mycelium over here. Don't be surprised if you see maggots or this grey mycelium. This is what you want because it all aids in the decomposition process once you put this into your compost pile. Now you'll note very interestingly that things don't degrade. As I said to you, they ferment. So what we have here is a cabbage leaf or a lettuce leaf, which pretty much still looks like a lettuce leaf. It's just a bit soggy, but it hasn't degraded into any kind of soil structure. And that's what bokashi is about. It is used to create lots and lots of microorganisms that when you do put it in your compost pile, it speeds up the decomposition process. What we have here is a clean bokashi bin, and that's very important. You have to make sure that your bokashi is absolutely clean before you start. Over here we have what is called bokashi, and this is full of microorganisms. This is in fact what creates the fermentation process. You need to take a generous handful and sprinkle it into the bottom of the bin. Easy as that. You then need to take your kitchen scraps, which we have a bit of over here, and you need to fill the bottom up just 10 centimeters. So I have got some tea bags and banana peels, and I've got some eggshells in here. You can use coffee grinds, you can use egg containers that you tear up, you can use newspaper, you can even use some boiled rice or small chicken bones, cheese. Remember, you can put all your kitchen scraps in here, cooked or raw. I certainly don't have enough to create that 10 centimeters, but just to remind you, it takes 10 centimeter layers of food. Once you've done that, you take another generous handful of bokashi and you sprinkle it over that after you have filled your 10 centimeters. You continue to do this until your bucket is absolutely full. If you can't do it in one day, it doesn't matter. It can take you 2 weeks or 2 months, as long as you follow that process of bokashi, 10 centimeters of food, and bokashi, and so on and so on. You do have to end with a layer of bokashi. Once your bucket is full, you then seal it with the lid and make sure that it's on quite tightly. You'll see there's a tap over here. Make sure the tap is closed shut. Right, and you leave it. This will be ready and fermented in 2 weeks' time. But if you don't have time to take it and put it in your compost pile, you can leave it for 9 months. It's no problem at all. So that's a great way to recycle your kitchen scraps, and you will have a wonderful compost pile after putting this inside. This is one of my favorite forms of composting because it's easy and it gets the job done really quickly. This is called trench composting. It's really simple. You need to find an area in your vegetable garden where you want to get rid of your kitchen scraps or your bokashi bin. What you do is alongside your vegetables, you dig a trench which is 50 centimeters deep. It doesn't matter how wide it is really, it's more the depth that's important. Then what you do is you take your bokashi or your kitchen scraps or whatever you've collected out of your garden and you fill the trench up halfway. So I'm going to start by doing that. I'm going to just pour it into the trench. There you go. Once you've filled the trench up halfway, the soil that you've used, that was here, that was dug out of the trench, you just cover it up. Once you've covered up the whole trench, you need to know that you shouldn't plant anything in this area. The reason is that the composting that's going to happen underneath the soil, the soil will eventually drop down, the level of the soil will drop down because all your kitchen scraps will eventually decompose. That's number one. The second reason is that there's going to be a lot of nutrients in there. It's going to get soggy and it might burn your plants. So for at least 2 to 3 months, don't plant anything on top of the area where you've trenched. But the beauty is that the soil all around is going to benefit from all the nutrients, and your plants that are growing next to your trench are going to be so happy for the extra food that they're going to get. What we've got here is a worm tower. I'm so excited about this because it's creating a worm farm in your garden. So I've taken a 100 ml PVC pipe and I've cut it 40 centimeters, and the last 20 centimeters I've drilled lots and lots of holes, as you can see. You dig a hole obviously that is 20 centimeters deep. You secure it with the soil and then you fill it with the following. What I've got here is some newspaper, shredded newspaper, and you just push that into the bottom like that. I've got my kitchen scraps, and you can use anything, vegetable peels, old fruit, old flowers. You can even use some twigs, but I would keep those kind of things out. I would use the soft fleshy things so that the worms can come in and eat as much as they like. Right, so let's add that in. I've even got a tea bag in here. You can add coffee grounds. It's also important to add a little bit of compost because that kind of gets the worm's digestive system going. So we'll add some of that. End off with more newspaper. And don't forget to water. Get that newspaper really wet and sodden. There you go. And what I have here is a female stop end. You get them at any kind of hardware store and they're used for the ends of drains. And you just want to put that on top. And the reason is you want to keep the rain or birds or pests out of your worm tower. You don't want the birds to get your worms very easily. Now the great thing about this, eventually you will feed it over and over again and you will see that the food scraps will start to disappear. But you will get left with a whole lot of worm manure, and all you do is you can harvest that once you've finished feeding the worms, and that's not difficult at all. You remove the lid very easily and you just gently pull your worm tower out. Whatever is left inside in terms of worm manure or at the bottom of the hole, you can scoop out and give to all your plants in your organic vegetable garden. They will love you for that.
After the break, I meet up with Michael Rickoff to discuss the next step in designing a garden.